Welcome back to Seek Strength and welcome back to the Sika Stand News Show at Monday, 98% of the year. Now, the Seek Strength News Show, as always, brought to you by the Sika Strength app. Just give me a little quick PB from it. So I've run the RTA back squat at 180, 190 and now 200. So that's 3 runs of the same program and PBs each time. So what a time to be alive to be able to run a squat program, RTA, iOS and Android. Now, in the interest of daylight savings approaching in Sikistan, there's obviously a lot of weightlifting going on and we have to keep it somewhat brief, at least under the hour for the new show. So we're going to cut loose and pick some of the highlights from the recent weightlifting activities, namely the Europeans in Sofia in Bulgaria. And of course, first up, we've got Tammy, who you may have seen on the podcast last year and some training videos with. She has once again medaled at the Europeans, and this time she got a bronze in the clean and jerk like she did last year, and a first ever bronze in the total, which a bronze in the total is by far the most impressive thing any Irish weightlifter has done at European Seniors. Bronze, it's the highest
amazing.
level. Incredible.
Yeah, Tammy trains harder than pretty much everyone we've ever met.
She does everything.
Yeah, she does everything.
Sets up her life. 74 and 98 at 49 kilo body weight.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive. There's a video of Tammy going to make these attempts. She had left a note for her kids saying she's going to bring back a medal for each of them, which is both an amazing amount of pressure and an amazing achievement to have done that. Very, very good looking snatch. Very strong on the clean and jerk.
Yeah, definitely. She said she was very, very tired. It was a big training block. Obviously, it paid off, which is fantastic. The last thing you want to do is have a massive training block and for it to not pay off. But I think she can be a little bit happier now with that progress and that all that effort and time was worth it. So big ups to Tammy, bronze in the total in clean and jerk, 2 years in a row for those medals. So amazing work, and it is doing great work for Weightlifting Ireland, and she's doing a lot of it and started a lot of it off her own back like we talked about in that interview with her. Now, sticking with the same weight class in the 49, the gold medalists Mihaela Cambei, or Valentina18 on Instagram, she snatched 90 kilos in very typical Romanian technique, which is always a great one. And she clean and jerked 109 kilos as a 49.
I think the standout thing with her lifting all the time is just the speed. How fast it is. Obviously, the weights are incredibly impressive, but it is so fast. It's almost Gabriel-esque in terms of that pull under and how aggressive it is.
So she has a large jump forward in her clean, and she used to have a bit of a jump forward in her snatch, but it seems like she has gotten rid of it. Now, her lifts, the problem with her lifting is she's so fast and explosive, it's impossible to tell how close she is to her limits. Like, if you were to look at these, you'd be like, oh, these are like last warm-ups. But obviously, these were enough to win Europeans, so they are not last warm-ups. So it's her capacity and her potential, very, very hard to tell. So all will be played for. This is the biggest Europeans for everyone in this quad or this 3-year cycle. So it's, to me, it looks like she's another 10 kilos on these lifts.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody commented saying she forgot to struggle, but it always looks like this for her lifting. It's always that fast. It's always that powerful. Some people are just a bit grindier than others, and they kind of get away with that at heavier weights, whereas some athletes, this is a classic example, just won't get the grind at heavier weights. It's either looking like this or nothing.
Yeah, mad stability in the split jerk position as well. Sticking with the Europeans, we've got Bojidar Andreev. So he won the 73 kilo class on the men's side. So he snatched 155 and he clean jerked 193 kilos in the 73s.
Yeah, I think people were talking last year about Bulgarian weightlifting being back. Probably not back anywhere near to its greatest heights, but he is certainly doing a great job along with Nazar to bring it back and bring it back strong.
Yeah, so 155 and the 193 here. So customary quirky clean and jerk style, I would say. So he gets that barbell really high into the hip pocket on the clean, gets the hips under very, very aggressively, and then he jerks with that open hand grip, the fingertip grip from the rack, and then shifts his grip wider into the overhead position. And as usual, he finishes with a backflip after he makes the clean and jerk, because that's just what happens. I think once you get a double bodyweight clean and jerk, you automatically get downloaded a back squat.
I want to know who has the heaviest bodyweight backflip after weightlifting.
Oh, Shane Hammond.
Do you reckon?
100%. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's no other super in history who could probably do a backflip in weightlifting.
Yeah. Oh, it's insanely impressive. That jerk is actually really nice.
Yeah, it's when it's wrong, it's really wrong.
Yes.
It's not his limiting factor. His cleans are really struggleful, at the heavier weight sometimes. But then his jerk then is let down by the toughness of the clean. But the jerk style is quite quirky, but it's winning them competitions. So it's how can you justify changing it this close to the Paris?
Yeah.
And I doubt he ever will change it. But big lifts. Then we also had in the 67 kilo class, normally a 61, Sergio Masida of Italy snatching a PB in comp, but I think this might be a training PB also, so like an all-time PB of 141 kilos.
This is the opposite end of the scale from that kind of Bulgarian style of technique doesn't really matter, it's just all about power. Technically, this is absolutely bloody gorgeous. Now, he is very knees out in the pull, but you can't take away from just how nice this snatch looks. The crazy thing for me is that bottom position. We talk about ankle mobility a lot and stuff like that on the channel. A lot of people who are taller lifters will complain if they don't have good ankle mobility that they can't get a deep squat. In this case, Sergio has almost vertical shins in the bottom of that catch position. It's an insane position.
That actually raises a good point about the Italian team is they're always very supple, I would say, if that makes sense. They're always very elastic. They're always very loose, but not unstable, or unstable. They're always very mobile in those positions. They never look restricted. They seem to hit all those joint positions very, very well. But we don't ever see them doing any stretches or warm-ups or soft tissue work. Now, I'm sure they do it. I think we might see them do some kind of soft tissue work, but we just haven't seen what they do. So I would be very interested to see what it is they do. Or is it just because lighter weight class lifters generally tend to be more mobile? On the subject of his technique, so his technique is quite interesting. It's a thing we get asked about a lot, and we've done some in-depth videos on about the knees out style of technique. It's largely not recommended. We even talked to Andrei Ramnov, literally one of the greatest weightlifters ever in history. He even said in that video when we talked to him that it's not really recommended. He said try it if it works, but it's really not a good way of moving. Now for him, obviously it worked. Generally, if you're a fucking horse, it can work quite well for you. But most people just don't have that hip external rotation, the power in the ass and the quads, the back strength to stay over the barbell. There's just so many things working against you. But it feels good.
It feels great. Now, here we have the example of great knees back position off the floor. And Toma is someone we use as an example all the time with her snatch in particular. How well she sweeps her knees back. And this what Owen's talking about is that classic kind of Russian stroke European technique. Knee sweeping back, barbell moving backwards off the floor. This is textbook. Now, obviously, Toma has all the power and all the speed to go along with it as well, which helps a massive amount. But this, I think, if you were modelling your snatch on somebody, this is who you should be looking at.
So Toma won the Europeans. This is her 6th European title. She snatched 114 kilos and clean and jerked only 128. So she came 4th, but still was so far ahead in the snatch that she ended up winning in the total. So she came 4th in the clean and jerk. Now, her jerk is a big subject, and we've talked about it before. We're not going to harp on about it today, but this is her 6th European title, which is incredible.
Yeah, especially considering she's not near the end of her career.
No. So it is very interesting. Now, in that same weight class, in the 71s, we had obviously one of the American lifters who came over for the Europeans. Now, they had a lot of lifters present, but we had probably the most prominent performance, in my opinion, possibly one of the best performances or one of the best talents, maybe the best talent coming out of American weightlifting, or currently actively lifting, maybe is probably a better way of phrasing it, was Olivia Reeves, where she did 115, 140.
Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing performance, considering as well how early she is in her career and how quickly she's progressing. Interesting listening to Kate, who's in her same weight class and obviously competing for that slot against Olivia, listening to her just talk about how daunting that pace of Olivia's progression is and trying to keep up with her. It means probably a very, very good talent in American weightlifting probably won't be going to the Olympics due to the fact that Olivia is making progress so quickly.
Yeah, so this was obviously 12 kilos on the clean and jerk and a kilo more on the snatch than Loredana. So here's the 140 kilos. Now, these all looked very casual. Like that snatch was a little bit messy, but that's kind of messy where it's your opener and you're like, oh, I'll clean that up on the second attempt, but still made it. So this clean and jerk is something else. Incredibly, what I love about this clean and jerk obviously is fantastic, but she doesn't fall into the trap that sometimes happens with female lifters where they tend to focus on over pulling on the barbell and don't put the effort into getting under as fast. It seems to be an innate thing that happens. It can be worked on very well. There's no reason female lifters need to over pull the barbell a lot. You can see how fast and prompt and precise she is underneath the barbell, and it's definitely something I would recommend looking into and analysing your own lifting. So this 140 still looks like an opener to me.
Yeah, it's definitely worth saying as well that Olivia is not the build we typically think of for weightlifters.
No.
Longer in the legs, longer in the arms. So obviously certain lever lengths would be more textbook, particularly shorter femurs and definitely shorter arms. But Olivia is working incredibly well with the body type she has. And for everybody else who's training, this should give you the ultimate confidence that firstly, you can have great technique and you can strive towards that kind of technical excellence. But more importantly than that is that you can lift massive weights. You don't need to be worried just because maybe you're over 6 foot tall or because you've particularly long legs.
Who were we talking about recently? And a lot of people pointed it out. They were like, oh, clearly doesn't matter how tall or how big you are. Like, you can still have good technique. I think it might have been a squat. Now, moving on. In the 89 kilo class, probably the best class of the whole European so far. Obviously, we haven't seen Lasha lift yet. I think that's tomorrow. We have Karlos Nazar going head-to-head with Nino Pizzoletto. Karlos won. He did 176, 215. Nino did 170, 210, and clean 222. So here's a 176.
This 176 would be scary to be in person and watch. You know, there's some lifts that are so intimidating to see in person.
Yes. This is, I think his technique is improving a little bit. He's talked about it in an interview. Gabriel was in contact with him and he was saying that he knows he needs to work in technique. I think Gabriel was giving him a little bit of advice, and who better to give advice on lifting these weights. And Karlos has a lot of tactical issues, but it does seem to be going in the right direction. I think the snatch extension, there's less of a jump forward. It looks to be more precise, and obviously the weight is there for sure.
I think the other thing with his snatch is it doesn't seem to be quite so focused on that hip contact and that massive change in speed that we'd see him at the hip. I think previous snatches he's been much slower off the floor. It's been more segmented in terms of a continuous accelerated pull. His snatch is definitely a noteworthy improvement.
The old age jokes are getting a bit old. They're
just not funny. They're the kind of jokes that when you're playing like under 12 football and somebody screams birth cert from the sideline, then it's funny.
Yeah.
Now it's just a bit jaded.
But there's so many of those for the last few years. So here's a 215 kilo clean and jerk from Karlos. This was his second attempt and he declined to take his third attempt. This is obviously to hold back for Paris. You want to be taking out world records where it doesn't matter when you've already secured the bag. And obviously, you know, you want to keep the 89s looking, you want to keep your bets pretty hedged, as you don't want to let them know what you're fully capable of right now.
Keep those cards close to the chest. I think weightlifting is one of the unique sports in that case where so many training lifts are posted. So much of training is documented. Like, there's not a team sport in the world where people will be videoing training and videoing the moves they're doing in training.
You know what else you need to keep close to your chest? That barbell. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I had that joke was stewing inside me. So the 89 kilo class, I can't see Lee Dayan being sent looking at these lifts now. If we look at Karlos's lifts in a second, that 222 clean was good, like really good. He's coming back from the back injury, so he's going to ramp up even further. There's just so many people. I don't know if Jason Lopez can go. I think he might. So if anyone knows exactly, obviously his lifts are incredible and he's only well on the comeback. Keydomar is there. Nino. There's so many people. I don't think Tianto or Lee Dian are going to go, and it doesn't even matter what they do. I don't think they're going to get sent. It's just too competitive. One thing I will say, and we'll just move on to Nino's 222 clean here, is I don't have a favourite in this race because there's so few competitive battles like this in weightlifting right now that I don't even want to besparch it in my own brain. I'm just glad it's happening. I'm just happy. I don't have normally I would have someone, I'd pick someone for whatever reason, whatever nonsense reason, But here I'm just like, oh, thank God this is here.
We did the reaction, the 85 kilo class reaction around Christmas time to a world's class back from 2014 or 2015.
Yeah.
And we were talking or lamenting the fact that there aren't that many weight classes anymore where you have 8 or 10 superstars like there were back then, who all of those athletes could have shown up on the day with a very, very reasonable chance of a medal, if not a reasonable chance of winning. The 89 kilo class is a kind of standalone at the moment in terms of just how many superstars they are. I know the 102 class has a lot of big names in it as well, but nowhere near the amount that is the 89s.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen the 102s go at it in competition. And typically, haven't seen enough Olympics and been around for them in weightlifting now. I don't hold my breath for it. They very often don't work out the way we want them to them. It started in London with Klokov and Akayev and Delega and Tarokody, where we thought it was going to be amazing, and it just didn't. And its subsequent Olympics, while have been great classes and big performances, very often we see the best lifts most of the time leading up to it, except with the exception, I think, of 2016 85s, which was amazing. Shout out Gabe, Tantau, Rostami, and usual. So Yauheni Takensi just lifted today in the 102s, sticking with the kind of Olympic class, and he did 181 217. So this is the video of the 217, and he's very power.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. If I got to like build a player, you know, like in the LFL games, and I myself was to be a weightlifter, I'd want to be very power such as this. I don't care. I wouldn't care about like I care about the technique because I have to make the lifts.
Yes.
But I just want to be very power on. I want to be big, fast, jacked,
Yeah.
and I want my feet to be able to come a foot off the ground with 200 and something kilos in my hand.
Truly, he is very power.
He is the power of power.
This is what I'd call very power.
Also, having arms that big and jacked just looks good.
Now, Yauheni was another example of someone who did like 180, 220 in the Europeans in 96, then showed up at the Tokyo Games, and I think he bombed or just made one lift. So you do have to just be cautious and don't have your hopes too high for the Olympic Games. Now, moving on from the Europeans, we have Rostami, who I think was spurred on by the Europeans. So he put up this 222 kilo clean and jerk attempt, so 2 cleans. This was 9 years ago, and he weighed 85 in this video. That's what he said anyway.
That clean, and I know we use this as a kind of measure of easiness, but that clean looks like somebody's dropped the bar from the squat rack and he's just kind of power cleaning it back up.
It does actually kind of look like that. I get what you mean.
Like he has no mass at all on this weight.
Do you think the secret is a little crotch adjustment before a clean?
Yes.
You think that's
I think
important?
a crotch adjustment before most movements is best.
I haven't really impacted it or really imparted it into my own training, but I think I might, after watching this, start adjusting crotch and see how much very power I can get out of that.
I actually think I know why, Owen.
Why is that?
Because you were a fan of competing in the black singlet.
Oh,
and
yes.
the black singlet with the chalky hands is
yes,
not friendly for the crotch adjustment.
It draws attention to the crotch, actually.
It really does, yeah.
Then, in the Lee Sang section of the new show, formerly known as the Anthropoth section of the new show, we have Lee Sang-yang, who is generally says about 72, 73 in training, 190 kilos for a set of 17. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this 4 or 5 months from Paris? Nobody knows. No one knows why Lee Sang does. Their coaches don't know. He doesn't know. All we know is Lee
Nobody
Sang
knows.
did 119 for 17 reps in the back squat.
And I absolutely love it, Owen. I love everything about this. Obviously, being a short handful of months out from the Olympics, it's not ideal, but I love to see it. This is getting after it. This is like what happens, when there's 2 or 3 17-year-olds in the gym and they're left there on a Saturday afternoon and they have nothing else to do and they're like, I'm going to do this for as many reps as I can, and then drop it behind you and nearly cream yourself with the barbell.
Like, I know what's happening and there's people typing saying, oh, he's building a base and stuff. This is not how you build a base in the last block for the Olympics. This is not what you do. This is mental. But Lee Sang is Lee Sang, so just going to have to really marvel at it and just appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, this is entertaining.
17. Anything after 11 is wrong. It's incorrect. Sticking with Korean squatters. So this is YangJ527 on Instagram. Now, he starts off with a 300 kilo pause squat and then does 300 kilos for a triple.
Lovely pause squat.
Exceptional pause squat.
This could be the best squat of everybody else's career. Look at how nice that is.
You know when people pause, and they call it a pause in their Instagram, and you're like, where was the pause?
Did we
There's-
pause at the top?
We know the pause is here.
Oh, that pause is definitely there.
This is very pause.
Yeah.
Let's look at the 300 for 3. Very, very
This is-
casual.
It's bewildering.
Bewildering. Befuddling. 300 for triple A.
Like, okay, it
Yeah, go
looks
on.
like a top triple, right? As it should at 300 kilos.
For the day.
Yeah. Like at the end of training, your coach, you're like, what do I do now? Just do 300 for a triple.
What's on the bar? 300. Okay, go on.
Yeah, go on, just do that. But I'm baffled by it.
It's best not to think about it and move on. Here,
300 kilos, people should be like vibrating when they take it out of the rack, you know?
I can tell you that. So here we've got Man Assad, who's a Syrian lifter. You might remember him from his 252 kilo clean and jerk from the Asians just 2 weeks ago. Without a doubt, the fastest super heavyweight. Here he is doing 320 kilos for reps, and these are speed reps. His clean and jerk speed makes sense now that we see 320 moving like this.
Yes. The thing that makes me, or what this makes me think of is when we see Lasha squatting.
What does this make you feel, though? Is the real question.
We never see Lasha squatting slow.
Yeah.
And we also never see him going to like very, very high weights. This looks like he could probably squat 340.
This looks like well below what he's doing for the day. So in terms of his warm-ups. So Man Assad is not an unbelievable snatcher. Very, very good snatcher, of course. But he's not going to put up anything to Lash in terms of snatch. But I could see him pulling a massive clean and jerk out of the bag for the Olympics. And I would be chuffed to see that. So we'll just see. There's also this 220 kilo clean and jerk from training.
My God.
No other super is this fast. No other super is like this.
Nah, that's outrageous.
He is the fastest super, not in the West, but in the Middle East. This is incredible.
My good God.
I think he might be the fastest super ever.
Ever, yeah.
Incredible.
So good.
I am. Let's say that one 252 because we actually didn't.
Come on, let's see it.
We didn't report on it at the time. That's not it. Where is it? Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
Guys, come on. Here it is. 252.
Oh my
Holy
God.
shit balls. We should have reported on that.
Yeah.
Man Assad.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Lovely.
That overhead position is mad.
Sometimes people look really fast because they do weird things with their technique.
This is just fast.
They'll smash the bar with their hips.
Yeah.
They'll like jump way back. It will look much faster. But this is just fast.
This is
very speed.
technique is so good. Sweeps the barbell back, knees get back, perpendicular shins, pulls under super aggressively, no over pulling the barbell. But it just so happens to be 252 kilos. Now, back to the 89s. Keydomar, the Venezuelan fridge, put up this 300 kilos for a double. Remember, he's in 89, 300 kilos for a double. This is Tantau, approaching Tantau levels of all-time greatest high bar squats ever.
Yeah, you're right up there in GOAT territory.
There might have been 3 to 4 reps there.
Yeah.
Might have been.
But yeah, this is definitely nowhere near maximal.
No, so we know he's done 320, which does actually put him as one of the greatest high bar squatters ever.
Yeah.
It's like 320 as a non-super is incredible, but 300 for double at 89, probably like 91, maybe 92-ish training. Holy, his back position is insane. That's what makes these squats so good. Obviously, he has the capacity in his legs, but his ability to maintain a consistent back position, like move into more extension as he squats, is stupid, is what I'd call it.
It's also crazy how athletic the squat is. Like, he's riding the bounce the whole way up. You know, there's no kind of big bounce out of the bottom and then it slows down a lot. He really doesn't have any slowing as he's coming like out of that bounce position.
Yeah, he's so bottom heavy as well, so that low center of mass, just so useful for lifting. Now, Artem Okulov, maybe spurred on again by the Europeans being on, put up this 170 kilo snatch double from the floor. This is definitely from a couple of years ago, judging by his haircut at least. 170 kilos for a double.
So fast.
Nobody doubts Artem on the snatches. Do we
No.
really? No one does. Or the clean and jerks.
You know what I really hope is, obviously he's not competing in the Olympics, but what I really hope is him and a handful of other lifters going ham and putting up some videos around the time of the Olympics.
So they did that in 2016.
Yeah.
So it was just around the time they got kicked out and they had a competition. Him, Adam Malagoff, a few other lifters, Timur Nanev, all of them put up some reasonably big lifts. Adam Malagoff probably put up the biggest lift in the 96s. He did like 185, 220, I think. Now, Marina Moretti still beat him, but yeah, it would be.
It's a nice statement of intent.
Social media for our enjoyment would be great if they would do that. So I'd be happy to see that. Now, moving on from our weightlifting, we've got Andrew Porter doing some 170 kilo front squats. I think this was the day after they. I wanted to say fought Italy, but played Italy, but fought isn't the wrong word either. And this is 170 kilo front squats. So these look to be cross grip. I thought they were zombie squats, but he's doing the kind of the bodybuilder style, which is perfect. And these for lots of reps. I think it was 6 or 7 reps.
This squat so his squat's very, very good. Obviously, you've probably seen him on the channel multiple times. But a front squat like this is just so utterly useful for people playing rugby, for people playing football. I think a lot of the time, bigger athletes don't like the front squat quite so much. It tends to be a bit more quad dominant. They can't use their back quite so much. But by God, for scrummaging, for clearing out rucks, for any of those kind of big impacts, the front squat is so, so useful. I think the other useful thing about the front squat is it's naturally going to auto-regulate you a small bit. So if you are mid-season, or maybe you have a game, in this case he has 2 weeks off, there's a rest weekend after this, but if you are playing a game the next weekend and you don't want to go ham on squats, the front squat offers you that kind of 30% auto-regulation immediately before you start manipulating your volume or your load or anything like that.
So obviously it's kind of a self-imposed kind of auto-regulation. So you could do the same with the back squat, for example, but this is a good way of just making sure that you don't take the piss, as it were. Someone said natty, and he said, I eat weapons grade plutonium. So here we have possibly the most impressive set of hang power cleans we'll ever see. This is blue gold throws. So you've had them on before, but I think EAU Claire throws family. I don't know. What I do know is 193 kilos for a set of 4 hang power clean, and it is amazing.
Yeah, right. Throwers always make fools of weights. They do things with 150 kilos that don't respect 150. They do things with 190 that don't look like 190. But in this case, he doesn't even have the God's honest respect to put his belt on the right way around.
I think that's why he doesn't hit the buckle.
Yeah. But it is insanely fast.
I don't think I've ever seen hang power cleans look like this.
No.
It really looks like it's like 130 kilos or something.
It's so good.
The speed he's getting into that barbell as soon as he starts moving it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Throwers really love those Valessa shoes. They must kind of sponsor them or something. But the 193 kilos for a set of 4, so 425 pounds at a body weight of 255 pounds. So that's about 125-ish, 130-ish kilos. So ludicrous.
Crazy. The other thing is when he re-racks, or not re-rack, but bring the bar back down to that hang position, it immediately stops.
Yeah.
Most very, very strong people who've ever done hang power cleans will not be able to stop. What is it? 190 kilos?
93.
193 kilos. If you were to drop 193 kilos from the front rack position and try and catch it at your hip, it will never look like that.
And not only does it stop really fast, he gets it moving again straight away. He doesn't waste any time between the repetitions, which is crazy. Now, we missed this 2 weeks ago, but this is Hafthor Bjornsson with a 454 kilo deadlift on his kind of homemade elephant bar thing again. Now, this is leaps and bounds from where we were like 420 around the start of the year, and we saw him like a 400 a bit before that. Now we're at 454 kilos. This is exactly 1,000 pounds. He said 9 months post pec tear. What'll I pull 12 months from now? So I assume that's giving us a bit of a...
Yeah, I hope he pulls 520.
Blaze 420. Like. You've got it on your mind. The devil's lettuce.
Also, so this is maybe 35 kilos heavier than the last time we saw him deadlifting, and it looks just as easy, maybe even faster than the last one.
What's really noticeable is the difference in his body shape from kind of 400 kilos to this shape. I don't know what his body weight is here. He hasn't said. No one really cares when it comes to the maximum heavy deadlifts, but there's a lot more mass.
Yes.
Everywhere on him now. We were only talking about how big he looked when he did the 501. He's kind of getting back to that massive shape now.
I think he was around 200 kilos body weight then, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was something like that. It might have been a bit more than 200 kilos. I think it was like 209 or 210 or something crazy.
What's absurd is when you see, so I think Eddie Hall is like 6'3",
Yes.
and obviously a monster. But when you see Eddie Hall next to Hafthor, he looks like a child.
What height are you?
6'1".
And you're 150 kilos, is it?
There he goes.
So Melissa Peacock back again with the insane deadlifts. Here she is with 272. I just can't emphasize how perfect her conventional deadlift form is. It's fantastic. Toes straight ahead, knees just slightly in front of the barbell, top down, start position, pretty aggressive dynamic start, and then just keeps those legs engaged, pulls through and finishes the rep, no problem. Like, it's just the way she's moving it, incredible. Quarter zips back again.
The big thing technically for me here is the keeping the legs engaged and how smoothly that allows her to lock out. I think a lot of the time on the heaviest of conventional deadlifts, we'll see people's legs just kind of getting out of the race a small bit too early, and then that lockout becoming much, much harder, leading to hitching and all those things. There's absolutely not a hint of a hitch here.
I did miss sport identify Melissa. She was not a powerlifter. She's actually a strongman competitor, which explains like the kind of deadlift or elephant style barbell here. But certainly sometimes we do see the strongmen, when it comes to their deadlift technique, they're allowed hitch, so they kind of embrace it, but there is no hitching there.
No.
Now, sticking with strongmen, this is Bobby Thompson, pro strongman, not post strongman, deadlifting 434 kilos, so this is 950 pounds. No suit, no brief, so this is as honest as you can get when it comes to deadlifts. Just some straps, conventional, and the will to be a massive human.
An absolutely gorgeous deadlift.
Yeah.
I think like Bobby would be a great case of, it's very hard to know how much that deadlift suit will add, because most people doing giant deadlifts with the suit on are only doing giant deadlifts with the suit on. I'd love to know if anybody knows Bobby, or if you've seen his heaviest deadlifts with the suit on before, roughly what he equates it to, roughly what that percentage or kilo difference is. But this is a lovely, lovely deadlift.
Someone said, can't say I've deadlifted 950, but the hard blinking after the set is very relatable. Yes, it is. Now, sticking with strongman deadlifting, we've got Adam Bishop doing a 500 kilo below the knee conventional deadlift. Like when we talked about with that low block sumo deadlift at 500 kilos, it's hard not to report in these when it is 500 kilos. Now, obviously, it's not just a lockout. This is moving over a reasonable range of motion, more than some people's sumo deadlifts, you might say. So there's something to be said for this 500 kilos. Adam is obviously a fantastic deadlifter. So very, very crazy. Imagine how tired he was after that set.
I think doing anything with 500 kilos is an immediate 2 weeks of CNS fatigue.
I couldn't be bothered loading that on the barbell. Could you imagine the hassle? On blocks as well. That would be so annoying.
Yeah, loading anything on blocks, especially those blocks, the composite plastic blocks. They tend to be so sticky when you're putting plates on.
Yeah.
But a very, very good deadlift. Really strong lockout at the top.
Blaze 500 or whatever the kids say now these days. Now we've got Theo Maddox, and he said hot cross buns and milk. I didn't know they had hot cross buns in other countries, but anyway, so he's got 455 kilos for a double. Theo is only 21, I think. Sorry, 355 kilos for a double. 782 pounds Fahrenheit for the Americans. And very, very casual.
Yeah, I think he has a very exemplary low bar squat for powerlifting competition style squatting. This is right where you want it to be. It's efficient. He's getting the most out of his leverages. He has the barbell nice and far down in his back. But the kind of most important thing for me here is he's not playing that game with the depth here.
I was just thinking that.
Like, it's obvious once you could watch this video from 10 meters away and you can clearly see he hits depth. He's not, and most of the time it is in training where powerlifters kind of run that risk of maybe squatting a bit high, particularly if they're doing heavy doubles or heavy triples. But all the time with Theo's squats, you see them instantly as being perfect depth.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, the angle probably didn't do me enough favors, or it'll definitely be there and they not sure about depth. But I think that's a really bad way to train. Never coach any of our powerlifters to do that. If it doesn't make depth, it's a no lift. You might as well have missed it. Or go it again, no problem, or do it again next week. But it's just look, we see some big people doing that, like Ray Williams used to play that game. But if you look at someone like Jesus Oliveira's, when he was squatting, all his training squats up until that 478 were the same depth. They looked the exact same. And just playing with depth isn't something you want to be messing with, and it does mess people up a lot in competition. So it's best to be honest with yourself. It's a bit of an ego thing, to be honest. There's just no great reason. I know some people will justify with Ray Williams when he's doing his training, but for everyone who's not Ray Williams, it's really hard to justify playing that game. Here we've got Nam Thomas doing 800 pounds, which is 353 kilos for a set of 3 high bar. As we might have seen, 363. Nam is outrageously strong, in a great shape, is just a freak athlete.
These don't look correct with how easy they move. This looks like a bodybuilder doing the first 5 reps of a 15 set kind of heels raised high bar squat.
It sure does.
Yeah. They look lovely, like lovely looking squats. Very, very good, very controlled. He is wearing a pair of wraps, but like it's a lovely squat.
In Vans as well. Nam is just so satisfying to say. Nam squatted 800 pounds for 3 reps. Incredible. So I feel like he's done so many impressive stuff, especially in his squatting. He kind of almost doesn't get enough credit for how big his lifts are, and he's definitely been at it for a while. What, 800 pounds for 3? Outrageous. Now, many times in the news show, Mason, we followed him on his journey to 400 for a single, and he just did 400 for double in training. 15 kilo PB double.
I remember when he was doing that prep for the abs, was it the abs pro series or something like that? And every single week, he's on the news show, every single week it was 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 15 kilos heavier. And I remember when he hit that 400 in comp, how easy it looked, and thinking, that man is going to do that for a double very, very soon. Like, it is absurd how strong he is.
So if someone is saying, not to poo-poo this incredible effort, but under powerlifting rules would just not be she reds, I wouldn't have thought there was any issue with depth on these.
I don't think so, no.
There normally wouldn't be in any of the squats, and I didn't really take any notice of it here. But no, I don't think so.
Also, for me, powerlifting rules are like the rules of the road in a different country. I roughly know what they are, but I'm not quite sure.
And you just won't follow them.
Yeah.
So, John Haack, lads, I don't even know what to say. We've series lifts here. Starting off with 352.5 kilo squat, or 777 pounds. Obviously in his typical high bar squat style. This is the first of 3 massive lifts he's done over the last week. He's still 8 weeks out. Just bear that in mind when you see the next 2 lifts. Remember, John is a 90 kilo lifter. Obviously trains overweight, cuts down. Never seems to affect him.
No, he always seems to show up in camp. This is, so a big problem people have as they get close to camps is they max out too early. And this obviously not at the pro level, but at your level or at the amateur level or at the recreational level of powerlifting. Because things are going great, they'll hit their singles maybe 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out, and they'll kind of blow their load. In this case, 8 weeks out, you have loads of time to recover. It's a great idea to benchmark yourself to see how everything is going. Just see what it's like to hit that big performance on a kind of mock comp or mock meet style day of training. But these numbers are absurd.
So then he followed this up with a 410 kilo deadlift. So I'm pretty sure this matches his best deadlift ever. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is, as usual, obviously conventional deadlift and typical superb technique. Never see a breakdown in his deadlift technique.
I think he is the poster boy for having a big, strong upper back and making your deadlift better because of it. He has a massive upper back.
I think someone said, yeah, they are taking the piss. Someone was like, why so heavy though? I mean this the most respectful way. But what benefits do you get from lifting so heavy? This doesn't look safe for your back. That's a powerlifter. It's a joke. But I don't.
Okay.
I think he's making fun of I mean this in the most respectful way. And then they proceed to say the most disrespectful thing.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be a bitch, but everything after a but is bullshit when you say but. So here we also have got 250 kilos. Again, remember 8 weeks out and he's benching 250. Not a bad or pretty solid bench day is what he said.
Pretty solid bench
pretty
day.
Solid
pretty
bench
solid,
day there.
Yeah.
Pretty
Would
solid.
you consider that a pretty solid bench day for you, Owen?
If I ever bench 250, I think I'd be like, that's a pretty solid bench day.
My God, it's a lovely bench. Obviously, Jan has a a quite unique technique in terms of a bit of elbow flare once his elbows kind of pass up above the line of his chest. But so impressive.
Yeah, so 8 weeks. I'll be very, very excited to see what John's going to do in that case. Now, finishing off with that huge Asian guy, Andy Huang, who I feel probably doesn't get enough recognition sometimes. He put this up just yesterday, 355 kilos for a set of 4. He also squats high bar as well, definitely high bar. I'd call that high bar. And again, no doubt about depth in these, in my opinion, in his Nike Jordans.
No, they're really good looking
350 for a set of 4.
Am I correct in saying he's John's training partner?
I feel like he definitely is.
I think they tag each other and stuff a lot, or maybe they're just buddies, but lovely, lovely squats. This is another case, great depth on those squats.
He said now to rest up and do 800 pounds AMRAP in the animal cage.
Oh
How many
God.
reps am I going to get? So I'm going to say probably 3 reps, although maybe 4, maybe with the hype. They get kind of possessed by some kind of demon in the animal cage sometimes. So
I'm going to hesitantly say 5. Because I think 5 just makes more sense.
It's only like another 7 kilos, which is a very small percentage. Only 7 kilos.
Only 7, yeah.
But it's a very small percentage of these weights for them.
Yeah, it really is.
But how much blood can he lose though? You know, how many reps can he do before the blood loss is too much?
I just feel like if you were to unrack 355
Yeah.
and you also unrack 342, can you feel the difference?
Surely not.
Or 362, sorry.
363.
Yeah, like a 7 kilo increase. Can you feel that difference on your back? Surely not.
Thanks for watching Seek Strength News Show. I appreciate all the comments as usual and people sending us stuff. Again, the Instagram tagging system is still broken. Don't know why. It's broken pretty much on most apps from what we can see. So please do keep DMing us with the new show. Look through every single one of those every week. And there is tons of them. It takes at least an hour most days to look through them. So we're very appreciative of that. So please do keep DMing us all of the new show stuff you have for us, as we're greatly appreciative of that. And don't forget to check out the Sika Strength app on iOS and Android. Why should you check it out? Maybe you've got weak legs, maybe you want to become bigger, stronger, faster, better weightlifting, better powerlifting. That app can get you there.